Whoa, way out of proportion here. Let's go ahead and move this window here and resize this down here. You can obviously not have any idea what I'm talking about, but makes sense on my end. And maximize that a little bit more. Alright, we're in frame. Alright, so mid-game fighting. Those of you who attended my lectures in the past are going to know that there are players that tend to focus on more than others. That has completely been done away with. There's been a lot of interesting examples of mid-game fighting for the past week. A lot of nice games, some of them between Japanese players, believe it or not. So this game is going to feature, or this lecture is going to feature a whole range of players that I usually don't cover. So I hope you find that interesting. Yes, you are. So that being said, let's see. It's going to be completely impossible to keep these games straight. I guess I'll try. This one is going to be... there's no sense actually putting it in the comments because it's going to change from game to game. I'll just put it in the chat here. Whoops, if I can type correctly. So right off the bat, we've got a Chinese player, or not Chinese, a Japanese player, sorry, versus a Korean player. So those of you who like studying Japanese games, I think you'll find this one a little bit interesting. But I'm not going to spend a lot of time covering the intro, or the Fuseki. I'm going to spend most of my time on mid-game, because that's what we're trying to focus on. I will give a few remarks about Fuseki, though. For example, this one I thought was fairly nice. It kind of goes along with what we've been covering so far. For example, I have gone ahead and gone in a little bit of detail with Orthodox simply going ahead and enclosing. This, as you all know, could easily have developed into mini or micro Chinese Fusekis. All of that is possible. But Choyu decides to go ahead and enclose high here. Obviously, white's going to pincer. He's going to go ahead and follow up his attack. The only thing I'm going to really say about this is some people might say that's wrong, that white should disrupt black on the right here, prevent him from getting an extension from his enclosure. Only trouble with this is, let's say we go ahead and play Jiseki here. Very, very common sequence, nothing at all unusual. If we play this variation, alright, this might be okay. We can still go back and pincer, for example. But what if black doesn't get sente here? What if, for example, white plays a bit more... no, that's going to give him sente. What if black plays a bit more passively, for example? Allows white to settle, so he can go ahead and take his large point on the bottom of the board. This is still a very nice extension from his enclosure. There's no feeling of being over-concentrated on the bottom, like we might have seen, for example. I mean, even if he can go ahead and back off low and we're still fine here, rather than if he had played the low enclosure, in which case now we're not quite so worried because there's just so many moves to go ahead and reduce this area with. He's playing high, so he can actually develop the bottom. Like this, it's not over-concentrated so much as just flat. All of these low stones are very uninteresting for black. I mean, he's trying to obtain how much territory for himself here? How much territory in the bottom? Can anyone answer that question? I hope so. I meant simply from these 2 points. So 30 is a bit much. But yeah, he's not trying to obtain very much. And yet there are still 5 different ways. And yet there are still 5 different ways to go ahead and reduce it. There are still ways to go ahead and invade or keep him low. It's just a very flat, uninteresting position here. There's too many ways that white can exploit this to his own ends. And black's not gaining that much in compensation. But if we play high, suddenly we're on the 4th line, we're making more territory here, we can't be kept flat. This is suddenly a more interesting position. So no, back to my original comment, R10 is not the only response here, because the bottom is still an interesting position for black. He can go ahead and develop there quite nicely still. So knowing that, white just goes ahead and pincers, also thereby preventing him from expanding along the bottom. So this is still a very fine move for white. He's not making a mistake here. Obviously black settles. This is a curious move. Knowing that he's already got k4, he can play a little bit aggressively here. Black chooses to simply go ahead and settle, thereby living, giving white some influence in Gote. Why didn't black just q10? You mean here? Just play q10 now? Then you're getting into a very difficult fighting position for yourself. You're inviting this nasty fight upon yourself. That you're going to get kicked, and if you try to save yourself, you're going to fall under severe attack. And now what do? Run away? Black probably decided it's not a good exchange for him, taking this large Gote move in simply getting for himself a running group here on the left-hand side. So he's going to settle himself before taking large Gote points like that. And this is what he does. He goes ahead and settles himself, gets Sente, decides to approach the open corner. Suppose now he could still go ahead and take the extension for himself. That's playable. But now you're also have to kind of keep in mind that you just gave your opponent some influence, because you're living there low, he's getting influence over your position. So what happens when white tries to develop a framework here? He'll have a framework, he'll have influence to use the framework. Might not be so good. So black goes ahead and tackles it head on. Nice idea. I like aggressive plays. White pincers low, and then picks. Again, I have said this before, I'm not entirely certain if this is a modern Joseki, or if this is an older Joseki that we're using again, because it's fairly new to me. It settles very, very quickly. Both parties. White's going to be able to settle low on the top. Black gets his corner in exchange. Yeah, I've seen it in modern pro games more than once. I'm just not entirely certain if it's a new sequence or not, or if it's something old that we're playing again. I think it's a new one, but I can't say so for sure. And here's where the game really starts getting interesting. Right here. This is what we're concentrating on. This is the purpose of the lecture. We've got black with a framework. I think we can all see that quite clearly, though I like clicking on the stones anyway, so I went ahead and highlighted it. We've got white developing, or not really developing, he's mostly just has a nice stable group up top. There's a weakness there, but he's not in danger of being killed anytime soon. Somewhat of a strong position there. He's got some influence on the bottom, but it doesn't seem like there's a large point to take, like we've seen black do here with his extension. So now that we've entered mid-game, and it doesn't seem like there's any large Fuseki points to take for ourselves, what do we do? It's a question that we always have to ask ourselves in every single game that we play. What do you do now that you've entered mid-game? And it's also, you'll notice why I decided not to add any more of the game past this point. That way there's no cheating. Let's see what we got here. We've got c8 as a recommendation. What is c8? It's white's turn. Please tell me that you still don't want to play c8. I thought so. That would have been very, very strange from O1Q. We've got d10. Alright, so Sanray says that we're still going to go ahead and take a large point. And let's see, Stoneflow says there's an open corner. Which corner are you referring to? I don't want to assume. Every time I assume, I'm completely wrong. Oh, okay, interesting. So you're suggesting either maybe p10 for extra influence or take care of that corner. Interesting, interesting. p10, I would have to say, is overly aggressive. p10 says, the whole board is mine. Because you're trying to keep black low, and everything left of p10, you're essentially trying to take for yourself. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of p10 either. It's very aggressive. I like that you're aggressive in your play, but I think that's a bit unreasonable. Reason why it's probably unreasonable is because black can still come in essentially from either side fairly easily. Yes, you have attended many of my lectures for you to note to say Tengen to me. Very good. Alright, so we have some interesting suggestions here on potential moves. And there's one of them that I like, but I'm going to go ahead and ask him why he suggested this. What is c3 doing exactly there, Stoneflow? Because you said open corner, and that is true. That corner is, in fact, open. But is there anything more to that? It can be Sente. Its follow-up can be Sente. I will grant you that one. Because you are right. The move that's played here is c3. And the follow-up at A and B are going to be Sente, forcing black to live, quite literally, with 2 points. Well, 3. It's Sente if black plays it. Is it Sente if black plays it? By that, I think I'm going to just go ahead and say it's probably going to be Sente, but maybe not the way you think. Right now, if black were to place, let's say, white played elsewhere. White played the ever-popular move of 018. I think what's simply going to happen is white's just going to go ahead and take. Make himself take away some of his weaknesses here in this little area of thickness that he's got developing. And that seems pretty good for white. But yes, these A and B are definitely going to become sente for black in the future. So what is black going to do? Is he going to respond? Is he going to play elsewhere? What do you think he should do? Go ahead and take A and B against him as sente in order to play something larger? What would you do? Because you can't live here. White's not going to prevent you from living. Alright, I play to lose says that it's kind of small, so you're saying play something larger elsewhere? Alright, what would you play? Any ideas on that one? And what you'd play that'd be larger? Go back and play pt1. Well, what black has to be careful of now is the fact that white's got this bit of area that's currently under development. If he's not careful, he might find white playing larger moves in order to expand on what he already has. Tengen is a move that I guess can try to go ahead and deal with that, but it's Gote, so I don't know if that's a good idea. Usually when we're trying to erase areas such as this, we try and find something that we can threaten, something that's forcing. That way our opponent can't think of really clever ways to counterattack and murder us, essentially. Because the minute we drop that Gote move in the middle of the board, well, okay, we're starting to do something about his area of influence, but we've also just painted a bullseye on ourselves, because we are not threatening anything. We can go ahead and think and come up with a counterattack. Playing in the center is important, but we usually try and do so in such a way that it's not going to simply be Gote. We want to threaten something, if at all possible, is usually what we try and do. We want to reduce areas such as this. Otherwise, and I'll show an example of this. Let's see if I can keep I'll go ahead and show the next move, why not? And then I'll go back and do that. Black plays here, I'll go over it in a minute. But let's say we go ahead and play something like this. Well, trouble is, right now, we have to ask ourselves multiple questions over this one stone. For example, can it live as is? You know, standard questions. Where can it connect? Things like that. Well, this can connect back over to R10, so maybe now we might start consider capping the stone, breaking its connection to safety. Even if we're not going to try and kill it, even if we're simply getting him to defend himself, it could be valuable for us. Because now black has to begin to be careful. Otherwise, he might find himself cut off from his own groups. And if that happens, he's just going to be a weak little stone running around the middle of the board. Same thing for white, yes. If white were to have not played this, for example, and played B instead, well, again, that is true. Same thing. What if black, for example, decides to try and completely surround this? While white struggles, he's going to be reduced on the left-hand side, because black's going to get influence here. So we have to be very, very careful on how we play. When we simply drop Gote moves like this, well, or moves that might potentially be Gote, not severe, then it kind of opens ourselves up to being counterattacked. Well, let me find the right variation here, 1 second. You. Alright. So, black tries to come out. White Hane, because this gets a bit uncomfortable. There's a little bit too much in the way of, well, a little bit too much in the way of cuts here. This wouldn't go very well. No matter how white protects after black connects, there's going to be an Atari somewhere, which is going to give black Aji. So he plays this way instead. Black tries to poke through. None of it's working, obviously. But he gets himself a cut point. And that's really all he's looking for here. Like I said, we try and find a way to go ahead and threaten something. And by cutting this group apart, well, white has to be careful of both all of his stones from being put in danger. If he's not careful, then we might see the Hane at d6, for example, which could really destroy the corner or break into the center. If we're not careful, this group might be put in danger. Lots of problems here. So first thing he does is he connects, because he can't have that Hane there. Black tries to escape. Why? Same reason, this group is in danger now. And as long as this group is in danger, it's not going to kill us. This is the kind of thing that we usually try when reducing large areas such as this. As long as he's on the defense, he cannot turn around and slaughter us. And this is typically the kind of thing that you want to look for in your games, rather than simply going pow, you're reduced. Because this tends to end badly. Everyone with me so far? Alright, good. White takes his... Alright, ice cream's good. Just tell us what flavor. Right, so white takes his large move. Obviously, black's not alive here. Not locally, anyway. So he has to find a way to live. He chooses to cut rather than play and simply go ahead and instead of make two eyes. That's kind of small. Since he's ending in gote regardless, he decides to go ahead and cut and give himself a little bit more to work with. Where are you? Oh, I didn't play it yet. Alright, that makes sense. White connects. Black extends. White Atari. Black take. Well, he's living in gote regardless. He has to live somehow. So that's kind of small as well. Simply living is relatively small. So he's trying to accomplish more since he's ending in gote. Make sense? Cool. Alright, and yes, as just mentioned by the 11Q, this is a potential ko later. But this isn't a ko to kill, because we still have D1. As just mentioned by the 11Q, because there's a ko here now. Many congratulations there, Severus. You've just outrid a 5k. Of course, I kid the 5k. So white goes back and attacks. Black is still trying to profit here from simply living. Not a bad idea. I mean, so far he managed to take a group that was living locally and sort of expand it along the bottom. Not bad. White continues to build up in the center. Of course they're going to go ahead and play Ko. Wouldn't make sense not to, since it is there. It's free moves for White. White's probably not looking to actually win the Ko, but he's going to get a something for his loss here. And that's really all he wants. You. Alright. So we have some Ko threats, this being the obvious one. And then we have pushing out, killing the entire corner. That's a pretty obvious one. So W wanted to make the Ko bigger as opposed to playing it immediately? As opposed to playing it here? Yes. Right now he's not going to Ko for the entire side. He's not going to Ko just for J2, for example. He's going to Ko for the entire bottom of the board. Because he has threats, so he can afford it. As we're seeing here, he's coming up with pretty decent threats. We're not going to just go ahead and give away the corner. White cuts, black Atari. I just ruined it. Oh, I did, didn't I? No, actually I didn't. Responds. Black threatens, rather. And now we see that. Now we extend. Black connects, and then white takes, I think? Yeah, he takes the Ko, and corner dies. So the question is, what did white gain from this? And what did black gain from this? And as always, who gained more? What do you guys think of this position? Did white gain more? By, let's see, what did white gain? The stones on the bottom. Did black gain more by killing the bottom left corner? Attack on 2 weak groups. What weak groups are you referring to there, Severus? Oh, okay. Sorry. I'm blind. I didn't see that you actually responded to that already. Yes, we've got weak groups at, you said L5, yeah. And, yep, I'll agree with both of them. Both A and B are weak, while black gets the corner. I do agree with that. Since I do like fighting, I have to say that I would prefer white in this position, because I would like a chance to attack those two groups and profit that way. Let's see, how much of this was I going to review? A little bit more, a little bit more. Let's see, white plays down, black goes damage control. And then white follows up. So here we can see what white is trying to get from its investment. He gave away his corner. He now has none. Interesting thing to remark about this game. White is now currently without any corners. But he does have a lot of potential in the middle. Now, it's very hard to win games when we are essentially having to rely solely on the center. But that is the game that white is now being forced to play. Black saves his one weak group. the one that we had here, since now we can't push through. Prevents him from coming under. Black descends. And then white tries to take a large area for himself. Now here I'm going to actually halt and move on to the next game, because I do not have time to go ahead and go through so many of them. And I do have a bunch of other ones. White wins this one, yes. White does in fact win this game. Yeah, by resignation. What happens is, and it would have been more entertaining to show, but it would take way too long to actually go through it. What happens is we go through what we just mentioned. Black tries plan B, in which he plops a stone down and tries to live, and it doesn't. So the first way, we see him fighting and he's getting compensation. This way, he's not getting any compensation, he's just trying to reduce what he can, and that kind of fails. But it'd be way too long going over all of it, so I'm going to move on to the next one, if I can remember which one I wanted to go over next. There was this one. Which one was this one? Oh, come on, I'm not labeled anymore? Are you serious? Well, that'll make that rather difficult, won't it? Alright, I can do this. Yeah, I'm doing that as well. I'm currently offline, looking at where I've labeled those. Alright, so this one I'm doing last, because that's Yisidol. This one... yeah, I'll do this one next. And close the board. No, I don't want to save it. I'll be going over his game last. Alright, so which one was this? I was just distracted and I didn't tell. I didn't pay attention. This is K-H. Alright. That's fine. Let me get that game prepared. This game we have, let's see, actually should I stop my recording and restart it for this? Yeah, I probably should.